Hi everyone. So I thought I would do a little get ready with me. I was gonna just put on my makeup and why not record it? I'm not gonna do a lot of editing to this video and hopefully, you know, it's not too ridiculous. I did speed it up just a touch so that it wouldn't be too terribly long. But you get to see all my fumbling about while I try to find things at my desk, etc. Eric was born almost 2 weeks ago now. And um, I feel like I'm in a much better place this time around compared to when Colin was born. We have some of similar difficulties with Eric that we did with Colin, though less so. Um, I do not have an adequate milk supply, and I did not with Colin either, even though we did nurse until he was 8 months. Um, So the feeding situation at least is less stressful now because I know going in that it's likely to be an issue. I have seen lactation consultants, and I'm just kind of okay with accepting where my supply is and that we'll have to supplement him. Um, but he latches on a lot better than Colin. He may have a little bit of a tongue tie, but it's not as severe as Colin's was. And he doesn't have a lot of the same issues. So anyway, so the feeding situation is better. I feel like I'm better prepared now with sleeping. The AAP recommends basically the crib is the only safe place to sleep, but we are doing some sleeping in the swing, which has given me some good chunks overnight, which is great. So I've gotten He's had a couple of nights where he's gotten 3 hours to 3 hour chunks of sleep overnight, which is really quite good for considering how young he is. Now we'll see now that he's coming out of the kind of traditionally sleepy phase. And I just want to say here, these ColourPop mechanical liners, I really like them, but holy moly, something is wrong with them. Both of the colors that I have done this. They broke inside the packaging. Um, Basically immediately, or maybe they came broken. I'm not really I don't remember. But I have to take the cap off super slowly, otherwise the liner itself goes flying across the room, which is not nice. Um, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so he's um, now that he's getting past that like really sleepy phase of being a newborn, we'll see how things go. And it's so funny because I feel like so super positive and like, I have all this energy and things are great until he won't sleep. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, what do you want? I can't figure out what you want. It's funny how I have way more confidence this time. Where did I go? I must be searching. Oh, I'm searching for the piece of broken liner. That's funny. Um, it's funny how that confidence can go away, where you feel like the second time around you feel so much more prepared in a way because you've dealt with the newborn and whatnot, but then you encounter the same problems you had the first time, and it's just like, why can't I figure this out? Why, if I have this experience, why can't I figure it out? So anyway, it's just such an interesting time. But overall, I feel like things are going really well. Um, and I did want to talk a little bit about like what happens to you, the mom, after you give birth, because um, I feel like after I had Colin, I had a super easy recovery time. So I had a pretty severe tear when Colin was born. Um, I didn't push very long. It was only 30 minutes with him, which is really short for a first time mom. Um, and so it was a little strange that I had such a severe tear. It was a partial third degree tear, which, if you don't know the details of that, I would not recommend looking into it. It's unpleasant. Um, but I don't recall being sore at all. Like maybe the first day or two, but that's about it. And considering it was such a severe tear, I don't know if it just went through a nerve or something and I couldn't really feel much down there, but man, not a big deal at all. Felt like that recovery stuff was really easy. Well, this time around, holy moly, so much more sore. The scar that I had from that original tear just reopened. The delivery for Eric was extremely fast. The labor was still 12 hours, but the delivery, I only had to push through one contraction. So that was nice. But so the previous tear reopened, but not all the way. So it was actually less severe of a tear. But up until like about 5 days, I was taking Advil and Tylenol as frequently as I could, and I was still very uncomfortable sitting. To the point where I thought, maybe I needed to go back to the doctor because I don't know if this is healing properly. It just was so, so uncomfortable. And the other thing that I did not know is that when you have the after pains, as they're called, they're basically contractions, cramps that you get that make your uterus shrink. The second time and third and whatever subsequent times, it's actually more painful every time. So I recall having those cramps, like especially when nursing and that kind of thing. Um, but this time they were like really similar to some of the more severe contractions. So that was an unexpected and not so pleasant surprise. It's just funny how different things are when you think you know what to expect, and then all of a sudden you just didn't really know what to expect. Um, yeah. So, as far as Colin, he's doing really well, all things being equal. I think he's pushing boundaries a little bit with the cats. He is compelled to chase them, which is understandable. He gets a really good reaction out of them. They run away, sometimes they meow. Um, and they don't go to a place that he can't get to. They just go in circles basically from like one level to the next where he can follow them, which it's a little frustrating because you just want to be like, hello, cats, get to a high ground where he can't reach you. But no, they just go around and round. So we're to the point where we're trying to stop that. But it's really hard because it's such an enticing thing for him. The cats make noise, they run away. It's like a stuffed animal that's alive and interactive. So he just can't resist. And so we're having a really hard time kind of trying to stop that habit. And I'm sure that it's not the best time to be doing it, but I think he's also chasing the cats more just because he's uncomfortable. All of a sudden, he's not getting the same kind of attention from me that he normally does. Thankfully, Sean has he took a month off. He had, like, I think 2 or 3 days of paternity leave, and then he just took the rest of the time as vacation. Um, so we have a long time to try to make that adjustment with Colin, where, Sean is keeping him super entertained, which is awesome. And I can just kind of focus on Eric. Um, but it's a big change, and all of a sudden he's not getting the same amount of attention. So obviously, super understandable that he's going to be having a little bit of a hard time. But overall, I think he's been doing really well, all things being equal. Um, just the cat thing has been tough. Trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to talk about. Oh, I don't even know. So I have, with Colin, and Colin, if you don't know, he's 2 years and 4 months old. I I remember when some of the other YouTubers had their babies and then they were, on social media or YouTube looking good, wearing makeup, and I was just thinking, with Colin, I was in such a haze. I really didn't put any amount of makeup on for quite a while. Whereas I feel like now somehow, even though there's like more demands on my time, um, I'm just able to find the time to do things for myself more. And for me, putting on makeup is it's a process I really enjoy, and I feel a lot better when I have makeup on. So for me, it's almost like a kind of a fun thing, fun. It's something enjoyable I can do when I do have a little bit of spare time. So, one good thing is that Colin consistently takes a nap at the same time for about an hour and a half to 2 hours each day. So, if Eric is sleeping during that time, I can have a good time off where I can do something like put my makeup on. I could also take a nap, but I feel like I'm getting a decent amount of sleep overnight because I'm not having to get my toddler up. My husband is able to do that. So, sleep-wise, I'm really doing pretty well. And it's funny how I was in a much worse place in that regard with Colin, even though I didn't have a toddler also to take care of. So it's just such an interesting thing how different things are. And I've been really happy that I've been able to take the time to do things like put my makeup on and, even thinking about recording a video and editing a video at this stage last time I think was pretty much out of the question. So, yeah, it's just I really do feel like I'm doing better on getting some time to myself and also getting more rest, I think. I think part of that too is just not forcing the crib, accepting that, if we have a good swing that has him securely strapped in, that he's not, his head isn't slumping forward, his breathing isn't impacted, that kind of thing, where it has him in a really good position that he can sleep in it. And we had this awful like travel swing that just broke. And we got good use out of it for naps, but I wasn't comfortable letting him sleep in there without me watching just because his chin would kind of drop down a little bit. And this time I have a swing that I got from one of the moms I know that had her last baby, and it really has been a lifesaver just having that option because most babies like to be in motion. There's a reason that swings are so popular. And I was just unwilling to be comfortable with Colin sleeping in one. And now I've embraced it. And I think that's contributed to me getting more sleep for sure and just being mentally in a better state. Plus, I didn't have the labor was a lot shorter, 12 hours versus 39 hours, just in a better place overall. So anyway, I'm getting to the end of this. If you want more information about like my labor and delivery, I will link that below for Collins. And if you want one for Eric, let me know. I would be happy to record that at some point. We'll see when, if that happens. And yeah, so I think that's about it. Thank you so much for watching and listening to me ramble, and I'll see you very soon.